Hi everyone, Arnold here, santamuertemagic.com. Thank you so much for tuning in. The topic of today's video is bad friends and Santa Muerte altars. Over the years, one of the questions I've received is what will happen if somebody did something bad to my altar? Like, what if somebody has taken down my altar without my permission, or perhaps stolen from my altar? In many cases, people seem genuinely scared or concerned that they will, for some reason, be punished by Santa Muerte because of the actions of another. The first thing I'll say is that in all my years as a devotee of Santa Muerte, as a writer of Santa Muerte, and generally someone who attracts a lot of conversations regarding Santa Muerte, I have never heard anyone say they felt as if they were being punished because of the actions of another person. I've never heard anyone say, be careful of what someone else does so that Santa Muerte does not become angry with you. I have not heard this come from modern devotees or even old school devotees. This idea that you would be held responsible for something that somebody else has done just does not exist within Santa Muerte devotion so far as I have experienced it. I'm not even really sure why this idea would come into a devotee's mind if a third party does something bad or disrespectful to their altar. Maybe the devotee feels guilty or ashamed that they let something bad happen. I don't know. But if that is the case, if anyone is feeling guilty or ashamed over what has happened to their altar at the hands of another person, they do not need to feel that way. First of all, as I have said before, Santa Muerte, if she is as powerful as we believe her to be, does not strike me as an energy that has any need for anger or vindictiveness. As death itself, Santa Muerte has already won. She existed before humans were on the earth, and she will exist long after we are gone. So the idea that an energy this powerful, this eternal, needs to exercise anger or vindictiveness over humans who are so temporary strikes me as more than a little odd. Whether that anger and vindictiveness be targeted to the devotee or to the third party who disrespected the altar. Furthermore, as I have also said before, the altar is a tool for the devotee, but it is not the source of Santa Muerte's power. The power of Santa Muerte does not come from your altar, whether you have an altar or whether you do not, whether some third party disrespects your altar or whether they do not. The power of Santa Muerte remains unchanged. So, this idea that Santa Muerte would be offended over something that neither gives her power nor takes her power away again strikes me as more than a little odd. The power you receive from Santa Muerte comes by virtue of your relationship with Holy Death, not from your ability to build an altar, not even from your ability to protect an altar against all potential harm. An altar is nice, it is a lovely gesture and representation of your relationship with Santa Muerte, but you do not need an altar in order to have a relationship. So, whatever happens to your altar should have no impact on how you view your relationship with Santa Muerte. I have used the analogy of a wedding ring in the past. If somebody steals your wedding ring, does that mean you're no longer married? Of course not. Your marriage exists because of the relationship with your spouse. A wedding ring is nice, but if something bad happens to your wedding ring, that does not impact the relationship with your spouse in any way. And the idea of punishing a devotee for the harms or mistakes committed by another person, this just does not seem fair to me. It does not seem in line with the balancing nature of Santa Muerte, which is something we'll talk about more in a minute. Okay, so the original question was, what happens if somebody does something bad to or disrespects my altar? What happens if somebody steals from my altar? What happens to you? I would say nothing. Again, you cannot be held responsible for the actions of others, and whatever somebody else does to your altar should not have any impact on your relationship with Santa Muerte. Can you be annoyed if someone disrespects your altar? Sure, you have every right to be annoyed. Can you be angry if someone steals from your altar? Sure, you have every right to be angry. But do not be afraid that Santa Muerte will come after you just because something happened to your altar. Things happen. Nobody, not even Santa Muerte, expects you to be in complete control of every aspect of your life at every moment in time. Things happen. Now, what about the person who disrespected the altar? What about the person who stole from your altar? What can that person expect to happen to them? Remember the imagery of the scales of justice. Whenever you see an image of Santa Muerte, it is very common to see her carrying the scales of justice. Remember that one of the nicknames or titles for Santa Muerte is the Great Equalizer, because we are all treated the same by death, in that we will all one day die. Because of this symbolism, because of this representation of fairness under death, I believe that one aspect of the nature of Santa Muerte is to put things in balance. So if someone disrespects an altar of Santa Muerte or steals from an altar of Santa Muerte, then it would not surprise me if Santa Muerte, in her role as the great equalizer, would seek to create balance where an imbalance has occurred. Perhaps something they care for will be disrespected. Perhaps something that they like and cherish will be stolen from them. I don't know. However Santa Muerte chooses to restore balance to the universe is her own prerogative. We may or may not be able to see the effects of her creating balance. We may not even know if perhaps the action of the third party is not creating an imbalance, but actually putting something back into balance. If a person who is hungry steals an apple from an altar, is that creating an imbalance? Or is that restoring balance by righting a wrong that caused the person to go hungry in the first place? Again, I don't know. And you won't know either. Which is why I say, if someone does something negative to your altar, don't worry about it. If the scales of justice need to be balanced, Santa Muerte will balance them for you. Now, you can still do what is in your control and what is legal to do. If someone takes down your altar without your permission, then you can ask Santa Muerte to send a curse or hex their way. If someone steals your property, then you are free to file a complaint with the local police. But when it comes to the big picture, when it comes to, quote, getting even, leave that to Santa Muerte. Let her get even. She carries the scales of justice, and she can measure out just the right amount of balance that is necessary in order to make those scales even again. With that, I think I'll start wrapping up the video. Basically, I don't think you have anything to worry about if someone disrespects or steals from your Santa Muerte altar. I don't think Santa Muerte is capable of anger or vindictiveness, but even if she was, I do not think it would be in her nature as the great equalizer to punish you for someone else's actions. If the third party who disrespects your altar or steals from your altar deserves punishment or deserves some kind of comeuppance, then let Santa Muerte balance the scales. That's why she carries them. Hopefully I've explained everything clearly, but as always, please let me know if you have any questions. You can get in touch through the contact form on the website. There's also the Patreon messenger system and the Discord chat server. Thanks so much for listening. Until next time. Bye.